What's up, YouTube? Getting right into chapter 13, we see that Jura is about to finish Boruto off with a tail beast bomb from the eye. Jura says to himself that Boruto is an intriguing lad and he regrets doing this, but farewell. But before Jura can deliver the finishing blow, the bug Shinju emerges from his chest and asks Jura if he's interrupting him. We also learn in chapter 13 that the bug Shinju's name is Mamushi, because that's what Jura refers to him as. And he asks Mamushi why he's interrupting him. Mamushi tells Jura that Masuri's back, and based on her investigation, it seems likely that Boruto has an accomplice. So we as readers didn't even know that. We only knew at the start of all this that Jura wanted to come to Konoha looking for Naruto because he held the Nine Tails. So now we know why only Jura and Hidari came to Konoha and not Mamushi and Matsuri. Jura takes a moment to think to himself and says that he knows now that that's how Boruto knows about the thorn bulb and such. That's where Boruto got his source of intel, because Jura was curious where Boruto learned about the thorn soul bulbs. And at that moment, Mamushi looks down at the thorn soul bulb that Jura is holding and asked Jura did Hidari get himself killed. Jura declares that their foe is formidable and that they should retreat for now and that they can't let Hidari's thorn soul bulb rot. So that's interesting. It seems once one of these shinju are defeated, the thorn soul bulb will rot if it's not used in a certain amount of time. So I'm guessing Boruto and Koji's goal was to get the thorn soul bulb and to take it to Sasuke so that he could ingest it and so that he would be revived. But as I suspected, it's a bit too early in the story for all that. It's also kind of surprising that Jura decided to retreat when he held the upper hand. Before Mamushi and Jura retreated, Jura actually dropped a bar and it was kind of cool to me. He said, "Boruto Otsutsuki, you are truly a lucky man. It's as if the heavens are decreeing that you remain alive. Perhaps this is somehow divine intervention." I really like this line because it has something to do with a lot of things we learn later on in this chapter. So I'll get back to this line towards the end of this video. But getting on with the chapter, we see Boruto is still sprawled out on the ground, fading out of consciousness, and it's at that point he starts to have a flashback. In the flashback, we see that Boruto is sweating. He's running away from something, and from what we can tell, it's some sand ninja. One of the sand ninja are saying that he's still got to be nearby and to find him, and Boruto is saying damn it to himself because he knows he's about to get caught soon. But at that moment, someone appears behind Boruto and says, "I finally found you, Boruto," and Boruto turns behind him only to see a toad. The toad tells Boruto there's roughly 20 shinobi in the area and that you're trapped, and yet you can't really or unalive innocent folk. Boruto asks the toad, "Who are you?" and the toad says that he's not a foe and to relax. If he was part of the search party, he would have alerted them without even telling him that he's found him. Boruto asks the toad what his motive is, and the toad says to "let's get you out of here first." Boruto ends up touching the toad and he's reverse summoned to Kashin Koji's location. It turns out Kashin Koji is actually in one of Orochimaru's abandoned hideouts in the Land of Wind. It's not an out of the ordinary location for Kashin Koji, because as we know in Naruto Part 1, when Orochimaru assassinated the Kazekage, he did have a couple hideouts in the Land of Wind. So Koji managing to find one of these places isn't too far-fetched, especially since he's a clone of one of the Sannin, and Jiraiya had a strong connection with Orochimaru. Boruto asks Kashin Koji where they are, and as I just said, Kashin Koji says that they're in one of Orochimaru's abandoned hideouts in the Land of Wind. Kashin Koji also camouflaged the base's door with genjutsu so that anyone will find it hard to find them. Koji then tells Boruto that the toad is a scientific ninja tool, and that it's structurally identical to a real toad except that it's man-made, and that he remotely manipulates it using his chakra. This process of Koji manipulating the toad sounds a lot like how Nagato manipulated the 6 paths of pain using the chakra receivers. I feel like Kishimoto and Ikimoto made some kind of ironic reference with Pain and Jiraiya with Kashin Koji's abilities. We then get to the real juicy part of the chapter. Kashin Koji pulls out a broken part of his old mask and holds it towards his face and asks Boruto if it rings a bell. Kashin Koji reveals himself, an artificial creation brought into being by Amado Sanzu. Boruto tells Kashin Koji he could never forget him because he's the one who tried to kill Konohamaru and actually killed Ao. Kashin Koji then asks Boruto if he's been Boruto Uzumaki up until now, up until the moment he's been born. And he tells Boruto to answer him straightly and no lies. Boruto then asks Kashin Koji if he's aware of omnipotence. He says he's not aware of it in detail, but inside his head, he's Boruto, aka Ishiki Otsutsuki's vessel who fled Kara. We as readers know that that's actually Kawaki because Kawaki was Ishiki's vessel, not Boruto. Boruto is Momoshiki's vessel. Kashin Koji then tells Boruto that his perception is that he and Amado helped Boruto break out, but we as readers know that was actually Kawaki. So basically, Kashin Koji doesn't know about omnipotence, but he's aware of the details. Because Kashin Koji reveals to Boruto while he is only aware of the details, he knew that Boruto and Kawaki would switch places ahead of time, with his ability being Prescience, or 10 Directions, the chapter title. So this ability comes as a mindfuck to the whole series, because basically Kashin Koji reveals that he was aware of the day Boruto was chased away from his village, and he knows through Prescience that everyone's memories related to Boruto and Kawaki have switched. Koji then apologizes for Boruto and Koji's confrontation in part 1 and reveals he was only following orders and it was all to stop Ishiki at the end of the day. Koji reveals on his deathbed in his battle against Ishiki Otsutsuki that his shinjutsu from the Shibai cells he received from Amado awakened, and Prescience allowed Kashin Koji to see all the events we already saw, from Naruto versus Ishiki to Code getting his limiters removed, all the way to Omnipotence actually being casted and Boruto being chased away from the village as a result. Kashin Koji saw all these events unfold through Prescience. And this wasn't all. Kashin Koji also saw future realities. And these future realities included a glimpse of the Shinju being revived with an extra member. A member looking a lot like Shinju, Shinki. So it looks like over the time skip, Shinki got bit by claw grime. I know a lot of people in the community are saying that this claw grime or Shinju in particular is very on Naruto, but this is Shinki, come on. Kawaki sealed Naruto in the Daikokoden dimension, so there's no way a claw grind could have bitten Naruto. Plus, if that were the case, Jura wouldn't have come to Konoha in the first place. Kashin Koji also saw that in various future realities, the divine tree would eventually sprout. With Kawaki being defeated in a lot of the future realities, Boruto getting killed by Jura in a lot of future realities, and the divine tree being harvested in almost every future reality. Now, a lot of people think this is a multiverse, and I even have it in the thumbnail. However, it's not really a multiverse. However, it's only a straight timeline with an infinite number of future realities, meaning a future infinite number of outcomes. So it's not a multiverse, rather it's just an infinite number of outcomes that could happen. But the fact that it's an infinite number of outcomes means that the fans could make an infinite number of possibilities about what could happen. So I guess you could call it a multiverse in a sense. But it's actually just a simple straight timeline with an infinite number of different possibilities. I do also want to point out that Amado is a liar. Well, I can't actually say he's a liar, but he actually withheld certain parts or certain pieces of information regarding the cyborgs of Kara. When he had his final interrogation with Shikamaru, Naruto, and Sasuke and company, explaining everything and spilling the beans, when Naruto told him not to withhold information, he only made it seem that the cyborgs enhanced with Shibai cells were the cyborgs consisting of Code, Ada, and Damon. We now know in this chapter 13 through Kashin Koji explanation that all cyborgs were modified with Shibai cells, meaning not only Code, Ada, and Damon, but also Kashin Koji, Boro, and Delta. So I think this could foreshadow that Delta could get a Shinjutsu going down the line. This is also a very, very far-fetched theory, and I'm probably the only one that's going to say it. But I think we could see Boro in the future arc of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex in the anime, actually. I say that because now that we know that Boro was laced with Shibai cells, he could come back because Shibai has a whole bunch of abilities that are really otherworldly and bizarre. He could have some kind of ability that could make Boro resurrect himself from the dead. But if they don't implement this canon concept in the story, I'm pretty sure it'll be animated in a lesser arc in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Maybe not in the manga, but rather just strictly in the anime. But getting away from Boro, as far as Delta, I'm sure her Shinjutsu from Shibai will awaken in the manga. I mean, it's almost certain. But I'm sure Delta will probably face the same problem she faces, well, rather Code faces. Because as we know, Amado wants Kawaki to place a karma onto Delta so that he can revive his daughter, Akebi Sanzu. But I just still feel like Amado's making a big miscalculation in all of this because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's trying to resurrect his daughter, not knowing the full capabilities of the Karma Seal Shinjutsu. Plus, like I said in my other videos, like he's doing with Code, Amado is crossing Ishiki Otsutsuki and Shibai Otsutsuki's power through not only Code, but now Delta, especially since he's trying to resurrect his daughter. I remember Kawaki even asking in part 1, when Amado was revealing all of his plans of resurrecting his daughter, that is he sure that if he places a karma on the Delta that a new Otsutsuki won't emerge. I personally think that Amado's plan won't bring back Akebi Sanzu, but rather Ishiki Otsutsuki. However, I do think we'll see Akebi Sanzu at some point in the story, or rather, both events could happen at the same time. What if Amado resurrects Akebi Sanzu, but she has Ishiki Otsutsuki's personality? And essentially, Amado just miscalculates and resurrects Ishiki Otsutsuki, powered by Shibai Otsutsuki cells, essentially bringing Ishiki back to full power. That would be a crazy turn of events, but it's only my theory as of now. But like I said earlier, in all these possible timelines, Kashin Koji is telling Boruto that he will be killed by Jura. So Jura is really formidable, more formidable than I could have even imagined. Boruto essentially tells Kashin Koji that his goal is not to kill Kawaki but to resurrect the Uzumaki household. Kind of similar in the sense to how in Naruto Shippuden, Sasuke Uchiha was trying to resurrect his clan, the Uchiha clan. So it seems Boruto just wants peace with Kawaki even though Kawaki wants to kill Boruto. But things won't play out like how Boruto wants. We know this from chapter 1, the confrontation between Boruto and Kawaki. But we still don't know like how everything ends up at that point. But speaking of that scene in particular, I just can't help but think Kashin Koji's ability is tampering with the timeline even more than what it should be. What I mean is that Kashin Koji even tells Boruto, what if he looks in the future? Or rather, he already looked in the future, but what if he imparts him the jutsu that he knows in the future so he learns what he knows in the future now, essentially speeding up his learning process from what he already learned with Sasuke. This made Boruto stronger than what he should have been, way earlier than what he should have been. And this in particular is going to cause a butterfly effect and change a lot of things in the timeline. Since Kashin Koji stated he would impart to Boruto techniques that his future self would know, it would mean that Code wasn't supposed to learn about Uzuhiko when Boruto popped up in the village at the start of 2 Blue Vortex. And if that's the case, Code wasn't supposed to learn about his mistake with the Shinju that early in the timeline. Because I always wondered at the start of 2 Blue Vortex, well, when that chapter aired, I can't actually remember off the top of my head. But tell me in the comments below, if Boruto never showed up in Code's dimension, well, the Ten Tails dimension where the Ten Tails was held, when would the Shinju have made their move? The Shinju could have blindly let Code act like he was actually doing something while they're just plotting their move, and could have made a sneak attack on Boruto or the Leaf Village or Shinobi World as a whole. I know Kashin Koji's intents or ambition is pure because he doesn't want the worst possible future to emerge, but just changing the timeline like this will have a butterfly effect, no doubt. This reminds me a lot of the Cell saga of Dragon Ball Z. Future Trunks came back from the future to change the past, to help Goku to make it so that he has a cure for the heart virus and that he never dies. But doing all that caused a butterfly effect. And Cell not only emerged in that past timeline, but also came in the future timeline where Trunks was at once he came back. But I'm not surprised that Two Blue Vortex was going to go this route, because we could have even known it was going to go this route from the time travel arc in Boruto, Naruto Next Generations, when Naruto was being targeted by Urashiki and Sasuke and Boruto had to go back in time to save Kid Naruto. I also wonder if the time travel turtle will be implemented in the manga or if they'll just keep it anime canon for the rest of the series. I can't wait to see. But speaking of the butterfly effect, I feel like it happened in this chapter because Jura was supposed to kill Boruto, but he didn't. And now that he didn't, he now knows that Boruto has an ally. So now Kashin Koji has to be careful. It's far-fetched to think that the Shinju would learn of Kashin Koji's location this early in the story, but Kashin Koji does need to tread waters carefully. We as readers didn't know that Jura sent Matsuri to make a move. We just learned this chapter, so I'm sure Jura will make some kind of order to find out Kashin Koji's location in the meantime. But Jura is exceedingly calm because we as readers know he knows of Ada's ability, the Senrigan, so he can be watched at all times. So I'm wondering how he's going to deal with that in the future of the story. Back to the chapter, Himawari wakes up and she heals Sarada's arm. So we know that even Himawari, even though she's a new or a perfect Jinchuriki, the best Jinchuriki that's been produced by Kurama thus far, she's new to being a Jinchuriki. She still has perfect control over it. She's able to instantly heal Sarada's wound, which had nerve damage from Jura's magic bullet. Konohamaru was even surprised by her prowess. Sumire tells Himawari to heal Boruto too, to where Himawari didn't even know Boruto was there. Kawaki holds off on having Himawari heal Boruto because he wants Konohamaru to put Boruto in cuffs before she actually heals him. Konohamaru states that this is only standard procedure and that they can't let this opportunity slip them. Also, Konohamaru states that the shackles Boruto's cuffed up with are specially made by Amado to prevent Boruto from using any ninjutsu. So I guess he's essentially really locked up until further notice. Kawaki, unbeknownst to anyone else, also sneakily erases Kashin Koji's toad that was attached to Boruto. So I'm interested to see what Kawaki has planned going forward for Boruto as well, now that he has him right where he wants him. But he doesn't have the power to physically do anything yet, so I'm sure he'll still ask Amado for an upgrade. And ending off the chapter, back at the Shinju hideout, we see that Jura puts Hidori's Thorn Soul bulb on the claw mark cube and resurrects him. Matsuri, having come back, wanting to harvest a new chakra fruit, or Thorn Soul bulb rather, that she recently harvested. And Jura wants to decide what to name him, so I'm sure this will be the Shinki Shinju that we saw. It was not Baryon Naruto, this was Shinki. This was a very lore-based heavy chapter and I loved it. Possibly the best in Two Blue Vortex thus far if you want to just go off of lore. But this butterfly effect I'm talking about is not something I want you guys to underestimate. Kashin Koji and Boruto are literally going against what's supposed to happen or what could happen, which is bound to change a whole bunch of possible realities or future realities that Kashin Koji saw. I'm a big fan of One Piece and I'm not going to get into the whole story here, but a lot of One Piece fans want to know why wasn't Roger on time. I'm not going to go into the context of that question, but why wasn't Roger on time? A lot of people want to know. And I feel like part of this concept is going to be implemented in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Because like I said, I'm not going to go into spoilers for One Piece or really go into One Piece that much into this channel rather. But as far as what I'm saying, I want to say that in One Piece, Roger's crew arrived to Laugh Tale a bit too early because whatever event they were going to had to happen in precisely 20 years and they were a bit too early. In Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, I feel like they were a bit too early to prevent a major win they could have because Kashin Koji ended up teaching Boruto the Flying Raijin Jutsu and Rasengan Uzuhiko earlier than what he should have. And now Code knows about those jutsu, or knows Boruto has those jutsu in his arsenal. So now Code will be better equipped to handle Boruto in the future, and the shinju for that matter. I made the comparison of Dragon Ball Z earlier in the video, the Cell Saga. Well, the timeline future Trunks was originally from, the androids weren't as strong as they were in the past timeline he traveled back to save Goku. So by meddling with time, Trunks inadvertently made the androids more powerful in the past timeline than in his own timeline. I feel like in Two Blue Vortex, since Kashin Koji has helped Boruto attain these techniques earlier on, rather than when he was supposed to learn them, he has inadvertently given Code information he was supposed to attain later on, and instead he attained it now, so Code will be better equipped to handle Boruto now and going on in the future. Meaning Code will be more powerful and more busted than any of us ever thought, or what he was supposed to be rather, because of this butterfly effect that I speak of. I mean, if we look in chapter 13, none of the possibilities Kashin Koji said that Code would become Otsutsuki. It just said the chakra tree would be harvested, or the divine tree would be harvested. So we really have to take Code in as a wild card at this point, because the future is up for grabs. Anything could happen, because Kashin Koji and Boruto, as I said, are actively going against the possible future realities that could happen. But what do you guys think about this chapter? What do you think about the reference I made between Kashin Koji and Pain and Nagato's ability to control the sixth path being similar to how Kashin Koji controls toads? Also, how do you think Kashin Koji's Prescience ability will affect the future realities that will happen in the coming chapters of Two Blue Vortex? Boruto is now in custody and Kawaki essentially has him right where he wants him. So what will happen in the coming chapters, in your guys' opinion? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next chapter. Also, I know I haven't really been uploading it lately, but I have another long video I'm going to be dropping after this video. But after that video, I'm going to focus a lot on shorts, because I have a lot of Naruto content I want to share with you guys. I've consumed so much Naruto material over my life, I could literally talk about something new every day for like 2 or 3 years, not even lying. But I promise, with my shorts coming out more, I will be dropping more frequently, and will be keeping you guys entertained with Naruto/Boruto content. And I'm also thinking about pre-writing my scripts, or making scripts rather, just so I can read off of something, so everything isn't just straight off the head like it's been. I'm going to make a lot of improvements to the channel for sure, just wait on it. But let me know how you guys like this video in the comments below. This is Ghost, and I'll see you next video. Later.
俺は忍びだ。